So there's a misconception that if you're single, you are incomplete, perhaps damaged, salvaged, and you won't be happy until you find your one. And that is not true. That is bullshit. It is a message that has been fed to us by media and advertising. The truth is, when you're single, you have the richest soil for growth. That's why I created this podcast. And unlike other podcasts, this one is host-driven, not guest-driven. That means I will be rotating health and wellness experts 3 times a week to give you the giant box of wellness crayons, not just the primary colors, so you can start building a meaningful life. It's time to give singlehood a cape. So this episode is called Getting to Know the Host/Collaborator, our collaborators. And I'm going to dive right in. Obviously, they're not all here because we have a lot of them, but I'm going to go right into the deep end of the pool by having us rotate, asking each other questions that we probably wouldn't want to answer ourselves. So I'm going to start with Megan. And my question to you is, what is your, it's like there's no foreplay. We're just getting right into it. What is your current greatest struggle? Hey, Megan, wait real quick. Here, before you answer the question, tell us a little bit about you.
By time. Good.
Before you answer the question, Megan's thinking about, how transparent do I want to be? This is exactly. A podcast. People know me. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
And then you can answer the question.
Well, I am very lucky to have met John almost a decade ago at a conference in Arizona, put on my mind, body, green. And I would say actually meeting him was really a turning point in my career because, he was a real expander for me. And at the time I was writing for Mind, Body, Green and a couple other publications, but was living in Vancouver, Canada, working as a therapist at college there, and had always wanted to move to New York, but didn't think that was possible being Canadian. So I'll give you the abridged version because we'd be here for many hours if I told you the whole story. But basically, I went from, working 8:30 to 4:30 job at a college as a therapist there to now being in New York for the last 8 years. And I have a pretty thriving coaching practice. And I do speaking and writing, and I podcast very erratically. Hence having not contributed an episode yet to Single on Purpose, but I'll get there. And
did you say you podcast very erotically?
I mean, erratically, but erotically would probably, if I podcasted erotically, I would have much more success, I'm sure. But yeah, I write for Forbes. I sort of have like a sleepy self-published book that I don't tell anyone about, except for y'all. I'm not great at promoting myself, but I love to create. Lately, though, I've been very, very busy with clients, which has been like wonderful, but also has diminished my capacity for creating. I think my current struggle is just wanting to be really honest with myself. Because
being honest with yourself. Yes.
We all lie to ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Like we all have these places where we're like, I'm just going to rationalize this, and this makes sense for this reason, and here's the lesson in that, and I'm really good at that. And, I always want to toe the edges of my comfort zone and grow and, do the work that we teach our clients to do. Right. So my struggle is trying to determine that line between leaning into old trauma and what's familiar and, repetition, compulsion and all of that kind of stuff versus, well, actually, people can change. And, of course, we more than anyone, I think, believe in that. And sometimes it's a real act of courage to stay in something that feels very uncertain, where sometimes it's a real act of courage to hope, I guess I would say. I think my struggle is am I hoping from a courageous place, or am I leaning into sort of an indulgent trauma reenactment situation?
Pick a card, any card, and by card I mean person, and one difficult question for him or her.
Okay, is this I'm passing it now, or I'm now asking somebody else?
Yes.
Okay,
one of your questions. Remember, you gave me 3, one of them.
I'm so glad I came up with these beforehand. It has been a wild day. Okay, let's see. Well, Audie, I think we met at that same, either that Revitalize conference or maybe one not long afterwards. So you're actually the only person here I have a peripheral connection to. I don't even know if you remember me. But I will ask you then.
All right.
What's the
So
question?
Okay.
can I just say real quick? I found out recently that Adi was there at the Revitalize. I think the same one that I spoke at, and he
No, I think it
actually.
was the
Yeah.
year after. It was the
It
year
Oh,
was
a
after.
year
year
after.
after. Okay,
Okay.
that's right. Right. So
You guys had
passing
they
ships.
Yeah, it was because I saw the stage you spoke at, and it was I would have remembered seeing you speak.
Yeah, we would. Yeah,
Yeah,
we would
yeah.
talk.
He was
Okay.
memorable. John
Okay.
was like, I haven't rehearsed anything. And then he just like walked on stage and fucking blew everyone away. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about.
I
He
was
just like went on
terrified.
there and like gave such a great talk. Okay, let's
What's
see,
the question?
Adi.
What's the hard question?
My question for you is, when's the last time you let someone down and it was unequivocally your fault?
Ooh,
These are
damn.
good.
I'm
Adi, if
a-
you say
I'm a-
that you can't, we can record this. So we're just gonna close up shop. Everyone's gonna go home.
I'm a dad of 3, and I've been married for 12 years, so it was probably pretty recent. The odds are I'm
I would
disappointing
hope
people.
so. Yeah,
The
we're all
odds are
disappointing
pretty
people.
likely that I'm disappointing people on a regular basis. But the one that made an impression and is big,
It could also be from the past
yeah.
because you've
Oh, like
gone
past
public
in
with
my
stuff
life
like your
past?
addiction, right?
But it has to
trying
be
think
vulnerable.
I'm
Mhm.
trying to think of one. I think I can think of one that is pretty memorable. I'll have to censor some of the language and specifics of the situation, but I think the overall theme will pick up. I mean, if you want to go for the jugular, we got to go hard, right? So,
Sure.
my wife and I, we've been together, 18 years we've been together. We've been married 13 of those. And we had a very tumultuous start to our relationship. So I cheated on her about a year into our dating. And I would hope that would be the last time I screwed up, but it wasn't. I had a bunch of missteps beforehand. So by the way, Megan, people can change. It takes a while and it takes a shit ton of work, but it's doable.
I
So
believe it.
it's years later. It turned out she came from a lot of trauma, including sexual trauma, but a lot of trauma before me. And so my action just kind of reinforced that trauma and really just dug her into the shell where she was in for years after that. And then between my making up for my past and, her having to dig out of her trauma, it took years of work to dig out. And we're now in a completely different place. And in that different place, all these kind of like sexual anchors and burdens that were there for both of us from adolescence of her, from her trauma, gradually got lifted, and we've turned our relationship into something that I would have never ever imagined we could have 13 14 years ago.
Nice. Okay.
Part of that has been, and we talk about this on our podcast, so I am not revealing anything that has never been released out loud, or I would be disappointing somebody for a second time on the podcast while doing something. Part of that has been like being playful around sexuality. And there was a time, this is a few years ago now, but there was an event a few years ago when what happened was it was almost like in a moment I behaved as if we didn't have that history, as if none of that history existed. And it's almost like I completely ignored it. I could just looked away from it and pretended that none of those things happened. And in doing that, I made my wife feel unsafe again for, at that point, the first time in, I don't know, 12, 13 years. And that was the first step, although I would say that was a blind spot. I didn't do that on purpose. But then what happened was, if anybody's been in a relationship, you get in fights in relationships. I don't know, at least in my relationships, you get in fights. So this led to conflict. The next day, my wife and I were fighting about it. I acted in a way that I shouldn't have, and I didn't break any of our rules, but I made her feel really, really unsafe, and I couldn't see it. So for hours, I would have maybe even a couple of days, I was trying to defend my actions. And I remember we were on a flight. We were actually heading out to Mexico on vacation, like 2 days after this thing happened. And we were talking, and she broke down. She started crying on the plane. And it was in that moment that I realized that I was trying to make my actions okay, no matter what the cost was to her, sort of. And, seeing her break down brought back to me all the memories of what it was like 13, 14 years before that point, and recognizing, oh shit, I'm missing something. There's something I'm not seeing in what's happening here. And I need to shut the hell up for a second and just pay attention to what she's telling me was her version of reality in that moment. And that was absolutely one of those moments where I was sitting on a plane on the way to vacation going like, oh damn, I still have a lot of work to do. Because I think one of the things I've realized, especially being married for 18 years, but I'm 46 years old. So you realize this over and over and over in your life. I feel like you think and you think you got the right answers, and you think you developed the perspective and the vision as to what's happening to you, and then somebody smacks you upside the head and makes you realize that you barely know anything. So that was one of those moments on a plane on the way to Mexico, being, just realizing I was this close. I wasn't close to really breaking up my marriage, but I was this close to once again really harming my relationship. And it was all my doing. I just needed to shut up and take a backseat for a second.
Thank you. Thank you for your honesty and vulnerability. You could pick someone now and ask your question. Buddy Wakefield is saying to himself, what the fuck is this and why am I here? Buddy, be patient. Buddy, be patient. We can't hear you because you're...
Okay. Who do I want to go to? Paul. How you doing, man?
Good.
I don't know you, but I'm about to. So I'm going to make this question up on the spot because I didn't come prepared, John. So please excuse me. What is one insecurity about yourself you work really, really hard to make sure other people don't see?
Can I just say something real quick? So Paul is becoming a good friend, and I'm a big fan of him and his work. He reminds me of a modern day Max Headroom in that he always shows up in a black shirt, right? And in this angle, and he's got a very sexy radio voice as well. But just Max Headroom. I don't know why that I keep thinking about, because I just
totally dated yourself.
By the way,
Totally
that's a fantastic reference.
You just have to glitch out every once in a while.
Is that my tease?
Yeah. Well, I'm most insecure about my voice. No, just
No.
Insecure about that. I try to keep people away from realizing. Audie, is that it?
Yeah. So a deep insecurity you'd rather people not know or identify about you.
It's come in stages, and it's been interesting. The first one was just my comfort with a little bit of body dysmorphia, a little bit sexual identity, a little bit of my place as a man and the type of man that I was supposed to be. It was just recently, within the last year, I came out as bisexual. That was a really easy one to tamp down into a gun barrel and keep put away, because you can just go heteronormative cisgender for that. And then also how you present yourself. And so for a great long while, it was heteronormative, cisgendered, married guy with 2 kids, and this is how everybody is going to know me. And that led to me practically on the edge of a parking structure, ready to whack myself. So yeah, not knowing my place as a man was a huge insecurity and a major blind spot until I figured it out and did the work and the journey.
Yeah, thank you.
It's awesome.
All right, Paul, you're next. Your question to who?
All right, buddy.
Oh, hello, Paul.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I've not met you, have heard many things. So here we go. Your adversary, your foe, your enemy, the one person in your life that you would classify as that, what do you fear from them?
Basically, what do you fear from me, Buddy Wakefield?
Boy. What do I fear from my biggest adversary? Oh, my word.
What a great these are amazing questions.
What do I fear from my biggest adversary? That they'll make fun of the way I walk?
I've never heard Buddy not be hyper verbose. This is crazy right now. You stumped him.
No, I think no. He's actually not joking. Buddy Wakefield has a walk, and he
It's adorable. I just don't want someone I don't like to make fun of it.
Buddy, it is adorable. You do the 8th grader kind
Here's
of
the
on
deal.
your toes, heel toes.
Here's
heel
the
toes.
deal. Here's the deal. I feel like an adaptable person. The one place I would not be able to adapt is anywhere tough that I would have to walk by people. Like if I was in prison and sitting down, I feel like I would still be adaptable. But if I started walking, people would be no, not as tough as we thought he was. That I just don't know a more profound answer. I
think that's an okay answer. I think
Thank you.
It's an honest answer.
Okay, thanks for the
By the
question.
way, people are forgetting to introduce themselves, so I'm gonna make a couple introductions. Adi, by the way, it's Adi. I didn't know how to say his name in the beginning as well. It's like, and then I thought Adidas, and I was like, oh shit, 80s backspin.
Sorry, I fucked that one up.
Breakdancing, Adidas. So now Adi is easy. Dr. Adi, TED Talk. Hey, there's 3 TED Talkers in here. Buddy Wakefield as well. TED Talk. Gosh, I don't know. Practice. Just sold a book. I don't know what else to say about him. Lots of men's work. Just a really powerful catalyst. Paul is a new friend, but we're working on a project together. And Paul, I see Paul as someone who's Paul, to me, his language is in a wine glass, meaning it's so his language and the way that he delivers things feels almost like he's been preparing, even though he's just kind of like thinking of it. And there's a very smoothness to it. I don't mean a wine glass as in like it's lengthy. And Paul has an amazing story. He was on my podcast. His story started with him on top of a parking structure, contemplating his life. And now he's doing amazing things, helping people, has his own podcast. And we are creating the first Single on Purpose festival that we can talk a little bit about later. And then Buddy Wakefield is a world champion spoken word poet and a very talented writer, a horrible friend. And he has a walk about him. He's also, I think, very special in that, Buddy, whenever I hang with you, whether it's online or offline, I get all giddy and shit because I value, because he's like a grab. You don't know what's going to happen with Buddy. He's a grab bag, right? You just kind of put your hand inside and you're going to get what you're going to get. And it always.
Well, John, I would like to talk to that point. When you had us get together, which I thought was just like a friendly gathering, like a potluck, so that we could all talk about your new idea. I didn't know we were doing a podcast.
Well, no one would come then.
Also, you told us to come up with 3 hard personal questions that we wouldn't want to answer, like I wouldn't want to answer. So as a recovering narcissist, still in the narcissist section of that, I asked 3 questions that I personally wouldn't want to answer. I don't think they're for everyone. So, for example, sir, there are other guests. Would you mind not eating a second dessert? That's a hard question for me. I don't want to have to answer that. I don't think it's fair. Another one I wrote is, will you watch my children? I find it to be a creepy question, and that would be hard for me to answer, John. And the third one I wrote was, would you rather sleep in a Chechen prison or anywhere near a vagina? No judgments on other people's sleeping preference, John. Those 2 things just don't work for me. But since we've been in the room, since we've been here, I came up with a question. You're not going to believe this. I came up with a hard question, and I swear this is what I wrote down before Paul asked his, which is just further proof that I'm partially psychic. If you interviewed, first I have to ask the person.
Ask the person.
Pick somebody.
Yes. And by the way, Buddy Wakefield, onion ring in the fry bag, as you are experiencing now. Pick a person and ask your question. And your whole thing is about serendipity. So maybe that's what's happening if
That's
your
what's
question is very
happening.
similar to
Can I get Buddy's number after this for babysitting?
It's in the men's room at Pharaoh's on the wall, left side, toilet number 3. Yeah, for a horrible time. Buddy, go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to ask my friend Danae. Hello. Hi, honey. How are you?
Hi, buddy.
It's good to see you. I
It's so
haven't
good
seen
to
you
see
since
you.
our camping trip where John got just tanked.
I know.
Okay, here's my question.
I'm trying to gather myself after that.
No, it's a good one. It's a good
Okay.
one. I hunkered down and focused once I realized other people, it was about other people. Okay, if you interviewed the people who didn't or don't like you, what is the main reason they would cite for not liking you?
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Hey, Danae, before you answer that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I kind of want you to do it, John.
No, I don't feel like I'm doing people justice. I feel
I
bad.
feel like yours are so good. I'm like, I feel like I want John to do my intro, but I'm Danae and I'm a therapist and a coach and a group facilitator and what else? John
Author.
and Vanessa I just sold a book. I'm an author. That feels weird to say. And yeah, John and Vanessa are two of my closest friends, and just really grateful to be in this space with you guys. I'm thinking about that question. That feels, I think, I think that people that don't like me, I have been thinking about some of the people that I feel don't like me, and what that might be about. I think that I, like everyone, have blind spots, ways that I can be a little short-sighted with the ways that I show up in the world. I think sometimes, I certainly in the last few years have gotten a lot more unapologetic about the ways that I push back on some of my programming and the ways that I'm supposed to be in the world. And I think that someone was asking me like what I think my work is to do in this life. And there's this, I can't remember the poet who said this, but he said that art is meant to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. And I kind of feel like that's become a little bit of my role in my life and in the work that I do. And I think that it sometimes makes people not like me a little bit when I attempt to disturb their comfort. So I think my intention is always to not be harmful and to not hurt others. But, I'm certainly human like everyone else. And I think I fall short.
Love it. Thank you.
And I do want to say about you, buddy, if I may, you're the only human in the world whose words make me sob like I've never sobbed before. I went to Buddy's show the last
Mission
time you were in Los
accomplished.
Angeles, and I've never cried so hard in my life. And it was just from like the words coming out of your mouth. It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
That's super kind. Thank you, John. I want to say that I'm doing Writers Anonymous, the workshop on January 15th for anybody listening. There's already about 100 people signed up, and it's 2.5 hours every Sunday for 5 Sundays. I'll be running the entire thing, and it is high energy, good. It doesn't matter what level you're on, but we're going to be writing and doing a lot of editing.
Yeah, I want to a little bit later talk about what we're doing, and we should all be sharing our stuff for sure. But I know you have to go early, so I'm glad you got that in. Danae,
No,
one question.
I actually canceled on them because I'm quitting caffeine for the first time, and my whole body is not being nice.
Okay, good.
This is. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Danae,
Danae, thank you.
Pick a person, and what's the question?
Okay. Before I say that real quick, I just want to say how cool it is to be in a room with 6 men and 3 women. Like 6 out of 9 are men. I love that you've created this space, John. It's where it feels really beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to pick Lair because I feel like as much as I'm an admirer of you and your work and your family, I don't feel like
you like my wife better than me. Everybody does.
I know.
Everybody does.
I'm sure if I knew you, I would love you as much as I adore Ashley.
I don't know. She's pretty great.
She's unbelievable. She's the best. Okay, so my question, I did have my question written down. I'm going to pick, what is a dream that you really, really want for yourself that you hold back on telling anyone about / saying out loud?
Ooh, nice.
Well, also being a recovering narcissist, there's not really much I don't say out loud. But to introduce myself, my name is Lair Torrent. I'm a marriage therapist. My practice started in New York City. My family and I, we moved down to Charleston, South Carolina. So we're over here on the East Coast. I'm a speaker, facilitator. I just authored a book called The Practice of Love, the integration of Eastern-based philosophies with Western clinical modes. It's kind of a crossover book for both us and the people that we serve. So can you repeat the question for me, Ben?
Muted it again. I don't know why it's so hard for me to remember. No. What is a dream that what is a dream that you really, really want for yourself, but you hold back on telling people about or saying out loud?
What is a dream that honestly, if I'm honest, and I don't want to take the easy answer, I want to be like everybody else here and tell the deep, dark, good stuff. I don't necessarily hold back so much, but I do think that that's been a problem for me. And I think that I'm swimming in the right pond for once with all these people in this room, because everyone here seems to be pretty high achievers, and everyone seems to be thinking outside the box for themselves and aspiring to great and wonderful things. And I do as well. And I feel, almost answering the question that was asked to you, Danae, that very often when I talk about the things that I aspire to and the things that I dream about and the echelons that I want to reach, that sometimes that alienates me from people, close friends. And so I think maybe to re-answer your question, I've been sort of keeping things a little bit closer to the vest and not telling people things because it hasn't really particularly felt safe for me to be as transparent. I don't have other author friends necessarily. I don't have other friends who speak at conferences. And so when I talk about the shit that I do, sometimes I feel like it makes people feel things. Mm-hmm. And maybe perhaps not always good things. And my wife has said to me, she's like, maybe you should keep some of that shit to yourself. And I think she's probably right. And so I have been kind of, at least in the circles that I run in here in Charleston, been a little less likely to share how high my aspirations actually are, because I do have some people who are friends of mine who want to start a therapy practice. I've done that. My therapy practice is full, as all yours is, and that's sort of in my rearview mirror. And gotten the book deal, written the book, and now I'm thinking about my second, and I'm a little like, okay, I think people around me are starting to feel some things, and maybe I'm fluffing my peacock feathers when actually I'm just trying to share my excitement with folks, and I'm a little chagrined to do that now, if that makes sense.
So let me ask you this one sentence, and you could fluff as much as you want in here. What's the dream? One sentence, or you might have many dreams. Or what's like, so you've written the book, you're thinking about writing another one. But what would be like, if someone had a magic wand, if you met a genie, what would be the one thing you want as far as dream?
I would be checking the surf in the morning from my house overlooking the beach in Costa Rica. Not, it's back from the beach because in Costa Rica you can't beachfront property. And I would pop in the water for a quick surf. I'd come back and check, and then see what's going on online with different things, and then probably give a workshop or a talk that afternoon, pop out later on for a good surf, and then hang out with my kids and my wife the rest of the afternoon. And that would pretty much be my day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you painted a day instead of like, I want this thing.
No, I want a feeling. I want an experience.
Yeah,
That's,
I love that.
I want a feeling. The feeling is freedom.
Yeah. Thank you. Basically what I hear you saying is that you don't want to see clients anymore. And I agree with you. No more clients.
Taking your advice, John. I'm taking the advice you gave me.
I don't see clients anymore either. Lair, one person, one question. Someone that has not gone.
Yeah. Let me look. Who do we have in the lineup here? How about Millie? You know I'm coming for you, right? You know, I have to pick Millie.
I know.
You knew I was picking you.
I know.
Okay. I like Buddy thought that these questions were the questions we wouldn't want to answer ourselves. When's the last time, or what's the thing that makes you what's the thing that's in your life that makes you feel like you don't matter?
What is the
man.
thing that is in my life that makes me feel like I don't matter?
Or has been in your life? Maybe you got rid of it.
Right.
Feel free to play with it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that one, I'll pick another one.
No,
No,
don't be
it's
easy on her.
it's fine. I think I'm trying to just wrap my mind around it. This is the thing that I have that makes me feel like I don't matter. Oh my
Or
God.
had.
Right.
What did you say, John?
Or had.
Or had in your life. It could, maybe you
Yeah.
got rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the attachment to other people's approval. That for a long time made me feel, well, I guess before I realized that it was like the constant feeling of performing for others, whether it was like, you know, mostly through work and not even this work. Some of that was brought into this work. I don't have that so much anymore. And like performing and doing things for others, like, did you see this? Did you see how good I did? Was it good enough? Always made me feel awful and like it was never good enough and I never mattered. And then I realized, yeah, it probably doesn't. And that's okay. It doesn't matter to me. That was a good question. I felt like this, like, I don't know, this ball in my gut just like, so that was a good question.
Sorry.
I hope that was a good answer. See?
Great answer.
Thanks.
A great answer.
Thank you.
No, thank you. But you
All right.
didn't
No,
introduce
after
yourself.
I picked you, I was like, I should have picked someone else.
Millie, pick a person, ask a question.
Wait,
Millie,
introduce
you gotta
yourself
introduce
first.
yourself.
Oh, introduce myself. My name is Mildred Murillo. I go by Millie. I am an astrologer and spiritual coach. I have known John since my paralegal days, before or right when I became a coach, baby coach, and he has just been such an important part of my growth. And so here I am now, and just riding this wave, just riding this bus that John keeps building. Okay, so let's see. Sean? Yeah, Sean, you haven't
Hi, Millie.
gone. Hi, Sean.
All right.
Okay, I think I have a good one. Who do you sometimes compare yourself to, and how does that make you feel?
Boy, when I'm in a very good way, I won't go the negative route. I'll go like
Who are you? Introduce yourself, please.
I'm sorry. Hi, everybody. I like to see so many faces that I don't know. This is wild.
Yeah, that's wild. I like it.
Nerve-wracking. I feel like I'm in the council. I'm Sean Cardinale. I'm a sex and love addiction coach. I come by the work honestly of 14 years of sobriety from bottom line behaviors through 12-step and through talk therapy. I've known John since we were little pups in LA, writing screenplays, falling asleep at cafes all around the Valley and Hollywood. Used to do poetry slams at his at the club he owned, and it's been nice to sort of circle back around, like literally 20 years later. Been coaching about 3 years. Started with an early Catalyst version John had a couple years ago, like 8 years ago, and then stepped away, went back to production, TV and film production, and now came back to it the last 3 years. And it's been a great experience, and it's where I want to stay. I do nonprofit work in the social justice arena, very proud Black man, and work in those neighborhoods and with my people and with other folks who are disenfranchised or underrepresented. And I'm also still like that pup back when with John, still writing screenplays and shopping TV and film projects right now. So it's been a really fulsome part of my life. So I appreciate it. And Millie, after I answer this, I'm gonna sing Millie's praises, and you have to just sit there and take it, Millie. I just want to what a day. And that we're on this today after we had some interaction on social media. It's just unfucking believable. Anyway, and I cuss a lot. So the question was, so I'm going to do the chest puffing one rather than the some negative comparison. I don't even know why I'd do that. I was just talking about social justice and my sort of animal representation. I've always felt like a Black Panther, and I just shared that with Millie today. That was some of the stuff I was going to mention. But Malcolm X, El Malik Haj El Shabazz, is just amazing, because he's a man who showed us all that you can, he showed us people's transformative nature. Started out as a criminal, became this hardcore militant separatist through, the cultural cauldron that's America. And then in the end came back around to a broader understanding, but still as fiery. And so Malcolm, in his strength, shows his fallibility. And he's definitely an icon of mine. And I would like to come even 1,000th of a degree towards that kind of effectiveness and clarity, and the way he would speak. He's very leonine. His jaw and his red hair, and he was tall, and he just had this amazing effect. And he's always had that kind of effect on my life. And so again, if I can speak and work in the neighborhoods, or if I can do this coaching and just get a little of that energy, then I am incredibly blessed. And that sounds all now very, very cocky, but oh well, it's already said. So, but he's a hero of mine. So there you go. And the thing before I pass on to somebody else that I have to say about Millie, I wrote it down right here. I wrote down Panther, Full Moon, Love, and Avalanche. Millie was just firing off these stories on Instagram today. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I was looking at like 8 different stories. I was like, this is my life. Millie, you're speaking to me. So I sidebarred with her because I am right now falling in love, and was responding to those notes from you. You put up a Black Panther. I just shared with you all. That's like my, my totem, not my totem. I'm not indigenous, but my representation, my guide. And then the avalanche thing, it just seems like the universe is opening up right now, meeting you folks, writing, being creative, doing this coaching thing. And I was like, Millie, you're in, how is this crossroads happening today? So thank you for your amazing ability. You spoke, I was like blown away. So check out Millie's work, y'all. Holy shit.
Thank you. I'm glad it was helpful. Thank you. There's a lot going on. I'm feeling inspired. So thank you.
Yeah. Who do I have? Who hasn't gone? Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hey.
You want to introduce yourself first before I ask, or
no? Ask me the question first, so I can stall by introducing myself.
Do you? I'm already the guy who's been talking about social justice this whole time, so I'm going to veer away from relationships a little bit, although it is about relating to people. Do you shut down your racist, offensive, homophobic, asshole uncle, aunt, grandpa, brother-in-law at the family gathering during the holidays? Or do you hold back? And either way, How does that make you feel, and what do you learn from that?
That's a great question. Okay, so hey everyone, my name is Sarah Williams. I am an adventure photographer. I lead experiences in breathwork and ice exposure, and I also lead groups into the wilderness for transformational experiences. I met John through CrossFit a very long time ago, and it's been absolutely incredible to watch his journey while I'm simultaneously on mine. And I'm a sucker for unique life experiences. And so I think just me being on my journey, John in the periphery has been like, wait, you did what? And you did where? With who? What? And in the process of me having those experiences, a lot of my work is around the lessons that I learned from these things that not a lot of people will do, and how can I share that with others. And that's kind of my purpose on the podcast, is talking about some of those experiences that I've had and what can other people benefit from them.
Can I just say real quick, how many days were you in the cave? Let me just brag about this one thing. Was it 3 days?
6 days.
6 days. Holy shit. There was a TV show. It was a contest where 6 days in a dark cave where you can't even see your hand in your face, in front of your face, no food, no nothing. The person that stays, Danae says no. The person that stays in there the longest wins. There were, Marines and all these like hardcore people. Did you win, Sarah? Or were you one of the...
So me and one guy, we were kind of tied. We lasted the longest, but yeah, it was one of those things where going into it, I had heard all these horror stories about, people who'd been trained in this kind of stuff professionally tapping out after just a couple of days. And I know the production crew was like, who is this blonde little lady from LA?
Yeah,
She's not going to last.
Right. And so
And
she
then
was in a dark cave with no food and nothing for 6 days. I think I would have lasted 12 minutes. But Sarah and I are doing this Spartan race this Saturday. And okay, answer your question.
Yes. And so, great question. I would say that for most of my life, I for sure would have been the person that just kind of listens and does not say anything, doesn't fight back, but just notices, takes it in. Maybe I would change my behavior towards those individuals, but I didn't feel like I would necessarily have a place to stand up or to really prove my opinion. But even as recent as this last Thanksgiving, I feel like a lot has shifted in me, and I'm a lot more confident in just myself and who I am, and being able to push back on people who are either much older than me or very definitive in their ideas, and solidly ask those questions. Where does that come from? Why do you think that way? And it was actually really interesting. And a lot of it was it's just habit. A lot of these opinions are just things that have been passed down, and they only exist because they did the day before and the day before that. And so I actually was just met with a lot of silence and quietness, and maybe people kind of like looking internally to be like, you know what, maybe I should challenge that. Or it felt like I was taking away their fun because they were making fun of certain people, or it was just really interesting, I would say, in that regard. But I love that part of me has changed, and I can actually stand up and talk about and preach the things that I believe in a way, in a conversational way. It's not just me shunning anybody. It's an open dialogue and a conversation in a way that I never would have been able to before that.
Love it.
Nice.
Thank you. All right. You're the last person, I believe. So your question will go, I guess, to me. Did everyone go already? What question do you have?
Okay, John. My question is, what failure have you had in your life that is either like the most difficult to talk about, to think about? Maybe it's something that you haven't extrapolated any lessons from. What failure in life still just kind of hurts?
Well, thank you all for hanging out. We'll try to do this once a month, and I appreciate your time.
Fuck that,
Thank you
John.
for being a part of this podcast. Okay, so one failure that I still go back to.
Stings.
What's that?
That just still stings you a little bit. And
Sure. If I'm being honest, I'm going to say my marriage. It crippled me, and but it was also. I believe divorce can be a rite of passage. And if it wasn't for me being crippled, I mean, it crushed me. And I'm not lying. I mean, crying where you can't breathe kind of thing, and starting all over. Not just because the relationship ended, because I had nothing. Because I was married, I didn't invest anything in any other part of my life. So I had no friends, I had no money. It was just like she was the sun I was revolving around. So when the sun went down, I thought there was no universe. So starting at Craigslist and finding a friend and all of that, I think it was traumatic, and I think it's something I keep going. I don't know if I go back to it. I mean, obviously, I have a lot of closure from it, but yeah, I still think that it affects me in ways that other people see that either I'm not aware of or not taking responsibility for. Right? I think other people, especially people that I've loved, and maybe including Vanessa as well, pointing out things that, hey, this, I'm connecting some dots here to that. And so, yeah, so I think that's kind of the big bang for me in my story that I failed at. Of course, I've redefined that, but if you want to consider that a failure. Okay, everyone, thank you for hanging out. The whole point of this episode and these questions was to humanize yourself, which is kind of the flag I've been waving for so long, as coaches, as therapists, as artists, to pull the curtain back and to show that we are in fact human and going through our own struggles, right? And so I think that's what's powerful about this episode. I want to go real quick and talk about what we're up to and where our listeners can find us. And yeah, and I think we'll do these often. These will be the extras in the DVD. Okay. D, congratulations on your new book that you just sold. What are you up to, and where can we find you?
What am I up to? Now we have to write the book, right? That's how this works?
Yes, that's how it works.
Got it. Okay. Just making sure. What am I up to? I'm doing a lot of really, really deep work with clients that involves a number of things that we'll soon be able to talk about, but can't really technically talk about much right now. I'll leave it at that. But I've been doing a lot of that work, and it's really, really fun. I just finished the training at the Integrative Psychiatric Institute, which was really empowering. I'm working on this book called Unhooked. That's the working title. And in the meantime, between both of those things, I'm just trying to have a podcast and run a company and have 3 kids and be married, which has taken up all the hours I have.
Yeah. And where can we find you?
Probably ignited.com is the easiest, and that's spelled IGNTD because I want to make it difficult for everybody. So IGNTD.com is how you can find me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Megan, what are you up to, and where can we find you?
Right now, I'm really just like enjoying not hustling, but also still being extremely busy. But I guess just trusting that like things are just like, things are just kind of unfolding exactly as they should. So in terms of like what I'm working on or up to, I mean, I don't really have anything. Like I'm always putting stuff out when I can, but for the most part, like my work, my energy is going to clients right now. And finally, for the first time in like almost 14 years of doing this, I'm like able to afford more professional development outside of having an institution pay for it for me that I used to work for. And so it's nice to be like, okay, I'm actually going to take some more like courses now and like get into like, psychedelic psychotherapy and, deepen my somatic practice skills and everything like that. So, so I think I'm just, I don't know. I know this is probably not the answer that you're looking for, but I don't really have anything for people to like look out for. But you can follow me on Instagram. That's usually the place where I'll like put things that I do share. And it's just my name, Megan J. Bruneau, MEGAN JBRUNEAU. And I sort of, again, erratically post things on there. So that's where you can find me.
Erotically,
yes.
Sometimes.
And if you want to work with, I mean, you can work, I don't have many spots, but I have therapists on my team as well who, if you're looking for a therapist to work with, you can reach out.
I can't say with who, but I may be doing a ketamine session
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Which is I'm very curious about.
I'm
I
actually
may not come back. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you will. You will. I can't wait. We should talk. We'll talk about that offline.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're taking it, or you're interviewing someone about
No,
it?
I'm going to be the client. I'm gonna take it and kind of go under and see what happens on the other side. I'm very
Let me know how that goes. Is that gonna be a podcast, or is that just on the DL?
No, it's going to be well, everything's content, but
It's legal. It's
Right.
legal here.
It's
so.
a lot of
So I'm
fun.
gonna-
It's really good.
No,
Yeah,
who said that?
You're gonna enjoy that.
awesome.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah, I did it
terrified, but I'm
twice.
excited at the same time.
Do
Okay,
they give you if they give you the anti-anxiety, then there's no K-hole, so you're good.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I also guarantee one thing: you will not be podcasting while on ketamine.
Yeah, that would
So-
be
Maybe
no-
while, but not after. Not after.
No podcast on ketamine,
yeah.
No.
even for John.
Paul, what are you up to, and where can we find you?
Yeah, this wonderful new world that I'm in of coaching. I'm also a certified crisis advocate at the LGBTQ Center here in Vegas. So coaching and crisis advocacy is my new loves, and I host a podcast that's growing and is it's my third child, and it's called Smart Funny Tortured, and that is where people can find me, under smartfunnytortured.com.
Do you want to briefly mention the festival that you're doing in April?
See,
Called
I reside in the
Self-Festival?
world of superstition. You don't. You're just like fifth gear. Let's go. And
You know what? I should apologize for that, because every time in the last few times that Paul and I have been either online or like in an office hours, I've announced this, and maybe that's not appropriate because I don't want to take you hostage. Yeah, I think it's just a way that I am.
It's great.
Putting
We
things
actually
out there like they're already like they already exist. So
No,
I need to
it's-
shut up, and you need to open your mouth more is maybe the prescription.
there's a nice little manifestation of John's book that's coming in the spring, and the energy that's in this room, if it's behind that, it will be a rousing success. It will help a lot of people. And I'm honored to be a part of it. And my wife is also a part of it because she's logistics and ops. And so, yeah.
Thank you. And Sean.
I'm on Instagram just under my name, Sean Cardinali, SeanCardinalli. I'm on Facebook, I think Sean Cardinali Life Coach. Working on my memoir about recovery. And what's interesting is, well, at least to me, hopefully it'll be fucking interesting to a readership. But I'm realizing, going over these old notes, it's like my first 6 or 7 years of recovery. And man, there's a lot of fucking anger in there. A lot of fucking anger, resentment, and divorce, which ended up being great. But podcasting, the universe, kind of like the channeling that I felt like I was like riding on Mildred's wave today. Millie's wave. I don't know. Everybody's asking about podcasts and talking about them, and I keep getting invited, so I keep saying yes. And I'm just really excited about it because I want to work with all of you. And I want to work with this person, that person, someone random in Santa Fe. I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So someone random in Santa Fe was just like, "Hey, let's do a podcast." Oh, fuck, okay. Coaching, keep coaching. Sex and love, addiction, intimacy, relationships, divorce. Anything along those lines, codependence, and I will plug my little projects. I just have this little side thing called Alterity, and well, John, I turned to you like, I don't know, it was like 5 fucking years ago or something like that. But I've been shopping these same TV and film projects for a couple years now, and it's Alterity because it's again off the beaten path. Well, now it's all the rave, but when I was starting this, people weren't doing BIPOC stories, people weren't doing queer stories, people weren't doing again, anything other than mainstream shit. And so now still shopping that around and still enjoy it.
Cool. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, of course. Buddy Wakefield, what are you up to, and where can we find you?
Thanks for letting me say it a second time, John.
We'll edit the first one out, buddy. Don't worry about it.
Okay, fantastic.
We'll probably edit this one out too.
I don't doubt that for 1 second, John. I'm at buddywakefield.com. Every social media is just at Buddy Wakefield. And I am running a writer's workshop called Writers Anonymous, a 5-week poem recovery course. that you are all welcome to. Anybody's welcome to, new or old. It's gonna last 5 Sundays starting January 15th. It's about 2.5 hours each one. It's all elective, so it's not like, if you drop out for one, you're come for fun or don't come. And get you writing. That's it. I'm working on myself, and yeah, that's in getting back home. I've been away from home for 5 months.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to get back home on the 1st.
Awesome. Thank you. Sarah Williams, what are you working on? Where can we find you?
So the easiest thing would be follow along on Instagram at Sarah Skyann, Sarah with an H, SKYNANN. Right now, the big thing, I'm teaching at different gyms across Los Angeles in breath and exposure classes, as a little appetizer from larger, fully immersive wilderness experiences that I'll be hosting throughout next year. So that's the best way to follow along to figure out if that sort of thing applies to you and how to get involved.
So are you guiding people through their cold plunge experience and then breath work on top of that? Oh,
yeah.
awesome.
So every single class is completely different, but it utilizes the implements of just your body, your breath, and then the ice.
Yeah.
And some of them have a little bit of fitness too. And so the idea is that it's different every single time, and you kind of show up not knowing what you're going to get into, but kind of coming back to yourself, regulating your own homeostasis.
Wow.
And then just being open to the experience that you have with others.
Again, here, Danae says, nope.
Yeah. I would love to take you, Danae, through something like that.
She would never, she's into hot yoga. That's it. Where can we find you?
Yeah. So, adventurefitla.com is for my outdoor experiences. And then just personally, Sarah Skyann, I put everything there for my classes and then also the experiences.
Sarah with an H.
With an H.
Millie, what are you up to? Where can we find you?
Easiest way to get a hold of me is Instagram, and that's at astro_consciousness. What am I doing right now? This year I started a really beautiful coaching program that I feel very passionate about. It's called Unveil, and it's about essentially healing the nervous system to find love again and relate from a more embodied and trusted space within, of course, using astrology, somatic practices, and meditation. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Awesome. Thank you. Did everyone go?
Nope.
Oh,
Me.
Lair, go ahead. What are
That's
you
okay.
what are you up to, and where can we find you?
You can find me at Lair Torrent Holistic Therapist on Instagram. I'm pretty active on there. If anyone wants to get in contact with me there. In May, I am co-hosting a retreat in Portugal, which is like a yoga / kind of reclaim your soul sort of retreat. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I have a podcast with my lovely wife called the Practice of Love podcast. That's pretty new. And I also am part of a podcast with my friend Sarah called Not Your Mama's Therapy, which is sort of an irreverent take on the themes we talk about so seriously. Sarah and I definitely cut up a little bit and have a good time with some not so serious, above the water kind of repartee and back and forth. And then we take some deep dives on some themes that, go from couples to individual work and all that. So that's Not Your Mama's Therapy. And I'm having a really good time with those.
Awesome. Thank you. So this is part of oh shit.
Wait,
Danae,
Oh, sorry, Danae.
Did
Hold up, John.
God.
Adi, did you get to speak too? I don't know. Is it two of them or just Danae?
No. D went with about his book.
Okay.
Danae, what are you up to? Where can we find you? Yes, and congratulations on your book as well.
Thank you. Yes, so I am deep in the process of writing my book as well. It's called Liberated Love, and it's all about how we or my vision of how we heal our relationships. But depending on when this comes out, I am facilitating an intensive retreat with your partner, Vanessa, in Carefree, Arizona, January 1st through 6th. It's called From Self-Abandonment to Inner Belonging, the intensive. And if you can't make it to that one next year, I think it's a little early, but I'll go ahead and say Millie and Larry's wife and Vanessa and I are going to be doing something in June. So you can be out or on the lookout for that as well. And
In
then
Costa Rica, correct?
And that's in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And then I co-host a podcast with Vanessa as well called Cheaper Than Therapy. So you can listen to us there. And then on Instagram, I am Danae.Logan. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. You know, you're one of your great loves is retreats, and you're always running retreats. So I think that's awesome. People can meet you in person. Okay, everyone went, correct? I'm kind of glad that we didn't have more people because you know, depth over width. And I think if we had too many of our hosts, it would almost be kind of a shit show. And we can't go for more than an hour because, you know, we're all busy. We've already had a long day. So this is a taste. These are some of the hosts, and also they collaborate with each other. And here at Single on Purpose, we bring you the big box of crayons, not just primary colors. So thank you for listening, and be well. I hope that episode was helpful. Hey, listen, if you want to share your singlehood journey, if you've gone somewhere and come back, if you have revelations and wisdom, please share your story. It's going to help other people. Nothing makes us feel more connected than hearing other people's stories. So just send me the audio of your story, and you could just record it directly from your phone and email it to theangrytherapist@gmail.com. Also, if you want our Single on Purpose newsletter, go to singleonpurpose.life. That's singleonpurpose.life. You will get tools and articles and other people's stories, and also Zoom links to private gathers. So if you want to join our community, go to singleonpurpose.life. Thank you for listening. Be well. We hope you tell a friend. Hey, before you go, I want to invite you to the Single on Purpose private community online. It's off of social media, no ads, no algorithms. We got forums, we got live groups, we got webinars, and we have social hangs. We also have offline in-person hangs happening soon. So check us out. Go to singleonpurpose.life. That's singleonpurpose.life, and I will see you inside.